The biggest battle that you will ever face is in your mind. Therefore, the trajectory of your thoughts greatly shapes and impacts your life. You possess the choice to change how you perceive any given situation. But the first step is being aware that you can. From a young age, my dad always used to tell me, change is the only constant. And naturally, I would later realize that these words were not truly his, but those of a Greek philosopher named Heraclitus. And although it is the truth, that doesn't necessarily make it any easier for us to embrace. A lot of us have a love-hate relationship with change. I know that I definitely did for the longest time. Anytime I entered into a new space, it initially took me years to get used to it. And by the time I finally was, it was already time to pack up and leave. So you can imagine how it felt coming into a pandemic where the whole world changed. And I soon realized that with change, there's also a stretching. And that stretching can either make you or break you. In 2020, I learned the power of perspective, that when trying to overcome new challenges, we must see them as building blocks rather than walls. I learned that the biggest thing standing between your idea and its manifestation is often you. That year, along with my team, I started my charity and spearheaded its first community outreach program. And at the event, I stopped for a moment, I stood, and I said, it is possible. And now I say to you, it is possible to watch your dreams become a reality, and it is possible to develop new mindsets. My talk today aims to help you navigate the how by outlining the importance of three things. Firstly, how you see it. Everything stems from your ability to see well. How you perceive and not what you perceive influences how you think and believe, which in turn affects your behavior. So this means that we can't necessarily control every single situation in our life, but we can control how we respond to it. We are each products of our environment, and we each have our own inherent biases, but we can choose not to let these limit us. Along with my team, I first started my charity during the COVID-19 pandemic because I saw a need to better serve underprivileged communities in Nigeria. So instead of just looking at the situation, I saw an opportunity to step in and help. And coincidentally, I was able to register that as the name of the foundation late last year. So that year, my team and I were able to raise over £3,500 over a few weeks with the help of generous donors and corporate sponsors in order to feed and clothe over 500 children. We had to think on our feet, we had to be agile, and we had to be creative. Today, research highlights a paradox in which people present an unconscious bias against creativity because it suggests uncertainty, unless they're able to perceive the uncertainty in a favorable light. So you see that the challenge for many is getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, for if you are willing to change what lens you choose to look at a situation from, this greatly impacts your ability to come up with a solution. Now, looking at the screen above, an image of a painting named All is Vanity by Charles Allen Gilbert, I'd like to ask you all, what do you see? If upon first glance, you experience a lady looking at herself in the mirror, look at the entire picture, and you should experience a skull. However, if you experience a skull at first, look at the center of the image, and you should experience a reflection of the lady's face in the mirror. But I'm sure you've all probably seen images like these before. We call them optical illusions. But what I wanted to highlight is that how you see the picture dictates how you experience it. We can all look at the picture from different lenses, but we can all agree that there is more to it than at first glance. This phrase reminds me of when I go watch Marvel movies with my mom, and immediately the film finishes, she's quick to get up and say, "Let us go." And I must tell her, "No, Mama, sit down, for there is more." Or when I play spot the difference puzzles with my friends, and the instruction says there are 10 differences, but I could only seem to spot 5, and my friend says, "Look harder, for there is more." I feel like this is how a lot of us look at life. We make final decisions based on first appearances or tries, and thereby limit ourselves. Therefore, we give up so easily. But if we would only look harder, we'd see that there is more. There is more to your experience, and there is more to your story. So today I challenge you to mind your mind. For our thoughts can be likened to birds. You see, they can fly around in our head, but we choose whether or not to let them land and build a nest. For your thoughts only have power over you when you actively feed them. Secondly, I'd like to highlight the importance of what you call it. Once you name something, you give it power. And when it holds power over you, it starts to shape how you respond. Cognitive researchers highlight a phenomenon known as the illusory truth effect, which describes the notion that the more we hear false information repeatedly, the more we perceive them to be true, whether the sources are credible or not. So in plain English, the more you say things, the more people believe it. And although this had negative effects during the pandemic with the spreading of false information, I believe that this same philosophy can be applied to life. When I was in secondary school, one of the subjects that I chose for IGCSE was physical education. And between year 9 and year 11, we had changed teachers so many times. So our final teacher came about halfway through year 11, and I remember that one of the first things he ever said to us was that it is impossible to achieve an A-star in PE, but aim high. And in fairness, no one had ever achieved an A-star in the school that he was coming from, or even in my school back then, for at least 5 consecutive years. So I guess the odds were truly in his favor. But I remember going home that day, being confused. And then that confusion soon turned into anger, and then that anger soon turned into a desire to prove him wrong. So when I got my results and I looked down to PE and saw that I had just achieved the cutoff for an A-star, I texted him these 3 words: "It is possible." You see, what he had called impossible, I started to call achievable from that day, and that influenced my behavior. And then I later went on to be awarded the Cambridge Learners Award for high achievement in that subject. And the lesson I took away that day is that what is possible changes every single day, but we must first call it possible. Good enough for our transatlantic friends, but unworthy the attention of practical and scientific men. The British Parliamentary Committee said about Thomas Edison's invention of the light bulb. Flight by machines heavier than air is impractical and insignificant, if not utterly impossible. Physicist and US Naval Observatory Director Simon Newcomb noted about flight by air. See, these are just a few examples of great men that have labeled things that we take today for granted as impossible. And I believe that if we stop calling things impossible, we could achieve a lot more. Recently, I volunteered at my friend's charity over the Christmas break to teach children. And at the end of the day, the children were made to repeat the mantra, "Even though I live in the slum, I'm not from the slum, I'm just passing by on my way to success." And you see, the more they said it every day, the more they started to believe it. You see, they know their current position right now to just be a stop and not their end. So what if we no longer wrote people off because of their background or their failures or mistakes? What if we no longer looked at people's present circumstance as their final destination, but instead help them to change their perspective? I believe that this would open up a world of possibilities. Furthermore, I wonder what destination in your life that you have seen as an end that was really just a stop, an opportunity for you to get energy and refuel, but you saw it as your end and you threw in the towel. As the children were talking, that got me thinking. What if we saw this pandemic as a stop and not our end? I've heard a lot of people say, at the end of the pandemic, I'll do XYZ, insert blank here. And my question would always be to them, but what if it never ends? Are you going to crouch down and hide, or are you going to get up in the middle of it? You see, there is faith that things will change, but there is also faith that we can become the change that we aim to see. My mom likes to say that this pandemic was as if God just hit the pause button on the world. And I'd like to challenge you today by asking, are you ready to hit play? Are you ready to call this chapter by a different name today? Thirdly, who you let speak into it. After yourself, those that have the greatest influence on your perception are those that are in closest proximity to you. Therefore, we must realize that proximity is power. The capacity to see in the extent of your vision is limited by those around you. So the same way that once you name something, you give it power, when you let the wrong person speak into it, there is also a power released. You see, the reason why some of us are still embracing limiting mindsets today is because of the people we have been letting speak into our lives, or the people we have been telling our dreams to. The wrong word can blur your vision. And for some of us, our location may no longer fit our vision. Yes, we talked about how the world has changed and how we can change by default, but we can't occupy new spaces with old mindsets. But you see, we also can't get there alone. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go quickly, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Because yes, change can stretch you and can birth greatness, but sometimes the ability to keep pushing requires the support of those around you. Like in a delivery room when a wife is giving birth, sometimes she needs someone's hand to squeeze when she's undergoing the pain, because although she's pushing and can almost see the baby's head, to birth it fully, she needs support. So yes, you can have the vision, you can be looking at it through the right lens, but when the journey gets tough, you need someone to help you pick up your glasses, clean the lenses, and help you refocus. And that's what the right people do. Edmund Lee says, surround yourself with the dreamers and the doers, the believers and the thinkers. But most of all, surround yourself with those that see greatness inside of you when you can't see it within yourself. For if you can't change your perception on your own, sometimes you need someone to help you do it. So in conclusion, I don't know what the horizon may be in your life. Yes, I know that we're all trying to look past 2020 and the dire C word. But I also know that it brought a lot of unintended spillover effects into our personal lives. So for some of you, that may look like grief, unemployment, family tensions, exam failures, etc. And you're trying to look past it, but it's proving harder than you thought. And no, I won't offer you a magic fix or tell you to get up and run, but I will offer you a thought. Maybe to get past this challenge and to overcome this hill, we must let go of the possibility that this hill is symmetrical. Maybe you will be forever changed because of it, and that's okay. Because the ability to imagine a better future is still within your reach. Imagination is everything. It is the preview to life's coming attraction. Albert Einstein. So I firmly believe that all of you in this room have something that the world needs to see. Today we have a lot of big dreamers, but can I let you in on a little secret? Those dreams were never meant to remain dreams. For fear paralyzes, but hope instigates. And a friend once told me, hope is free. So it seems like a pretty damn good transaction to me. The ability to see the horizon is one thing, but the ability to see beyond and imagine a new, better reality requires a change of perspective. So how you see it, what you call it, and who you let speak into it won't necessarily determine your ability to survive in these coming years, but it will impact your ability to thrive. I'm a firm believer that if you can change your thinking, you can change your life. Thank you.